Hi, so my name is Armando Ubeda. I'm with Florida Sea Grant and UF5 Extension and Sustainability as well. I don't have my email address on the last slide because they told me 5 slides. So if you want to find me after this talk to ask me about this program they're about to tell you about, go to UF5's website or ask somebody else that know me. Anyway, so I'm going to talk to you about this awesome program that we have. So since you're all inspired and want to be engaged, want to participate, so I'm going to be very inclusive. I'm going to invite you all to be part of this. This is a program, there's a citizen science program to monitor horseshoe crabs, and that was put up by FWC and Sea Grant and UF5. It's mainly happening in Syracuse and that area, but we're trying to bring it down here. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about horseshoe crabs, a little bit about the program, and why it's important. So horseshoe crabs, basically they're not crabs. That's, if they know that we call them horseshoe crabs, maybe they wouldn't like it. They are arthropods, but they're not crustaceans. They're actually more related to spiders and scorpions than crabs. They are really primitive animals. They came around the Paleozoic, and they haven't changed much. Like sharks, they survive max extinctions, and they're awesome. And we know very little about them. That's the other thing. But they're very useful to us, and I'm going to go into that as well. So males and females come to shore where they mate. They have external fertilization. They lay a bunch of eggs, 1,000 eggs on the sand. About 2 weeks, you have a larvae that either stay on the sand or goes into the water. And then about 2 or 4 weeks, it transforms into this miniature horseshoe crab. The beauty of these guys is that they molt as soon as they grow up, like any arthropod. But once they get to sexual maturity, they stop molting. So you can tag them. So something that is part of this program, and I'll tell you a little bit more about it. So females are bigger than males, and you can also age them because their shells start becoming older because they don't replace anymore. So you can kind of tell how old these guys are. They reach sexual maturity around 8 years, and they can live up to 20 years. That's what we know. So I'll tell you more about it. So we have in the States, New England, New York, Delaware, famous massive spawning events in Delaware Bay. Southeast, we have some in Florida. We have about 5 or 6 distinct populations genetically, and we know very little of them. And one of them is in our area, west. So why they're so important? The eggs are used by a lot of shorebirds, like red nuts, which are endangered species, and that complicates the management because there's different uses right here. So red nuts, for example, is one of the use the eggs in their migration routes. They time their migration with this spawning event so they can eat the eggs of horseshoe crabs. We use it as bait for eels and conch and traps and biomedical. I don't know if you knew this, but the blood of horseshoe crab is really special to us. All the injectables and medical implants are actually tested to see if they have endotoxins from bacteria on them, and they use the blood of horseshoe crabs. So basically, they milk them, they extract the blood, and then they release the animals. Some other parts of the glove, they actually kill the animals. So here, you have a release. There's some mortality involved with this, but most of them get released into the wild. And they're used for many different animals. You can see in the pictures, alligator in a horseshoe crab, a turtle, a snail, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, and there's also use for them into the aquarium, which that one is very unregulated, so we're trying to see what the negative effect of those harvesting for aquarium. So with this program, what we're trying to do is to assess and answer some of these questions: how they're doing, what is the population trend, are they declining, are they increasing, what are the uses, what are some of the environmental conditions that stimulate this breeding. And short term, some of the stuff that we want to see is how do they come back to the same area? What is sex ratio? So what is some of those basic biological information that we need to manage properly this species, which is heavily utilized. Not only we use it, but also there being some of the threats that horseshoe crabs now are facing is, like, for example, hardening of shorelines, because they cannot come and lay their eggs if it's a seawall or riprap. So that's another problem. Sea level rise, et cetera. So these are things that we need to, 30 seconds? Oh, wow. So that we need to get into account with this. So this is an awesome program. Basically, what we ask you to do is to come and walk the beach, find if there's enough horseshoe crabs. If there are horseshoe crabs there, and you can ask me when is the best time to do this, I will tell you about it. If we find that we have enough horseshoe crabs, we start a tagging program, and you become basically a scientist. You're a field biologist tagging animals out there under just FWC permit, doing this cool, super cool job, and adding to science. So if you want to know more about this, if you want to be part of this, talk to me. Thank you.